Hi guys, in today's video we are going to discuss something that is often overlooked by expats moving out here, and that is startup costs for your initial trip to move here, and a lot of things that people forget. We're going to go through all of that in today's video. Stick around. Listen, when I first moved out here, I had forgotten about all kinds of different startup costs that I didn't even really think about until I got here and started realizing, oh, I need this, I need this. You know, I would watch YouTube videos, and there were so many budget videos and videos on what your expenses are, but nobody really discussed what your startup costs are. And that could be one of the most important factors for a lot of people. So we're going to go through that now. So right away, you have to consider the flight, the immigration cost, the visa costs. Are you going to get a permanent visa? Like, are you going to get a SRRV, a retirement visa, and which one do you qualify for? And what deposit is it going to be? And the fee for hiring a service to take care of it for you. That's often overlooked. Also, are you going to move into a fully furnished place? And even though it's fully furnished, you're still going to want to probably buy your own sheets, your own towels. I mean, I've moved into places that have stated fully furnished, and you get there and there's literally like 2 plates and 1 cup and 2 forks. And so I had to go and buy pans, I had to go buy pots, I had to go buy different accessories like a rice cooker, a slow cooker, a pressure cooker, just microwave, different things that I wanted. And sometimes the furniture is absolutely crap. A lot of times in the Philippines, I hate to say this, but they are going to provide you the cheapest of the cheap. I mean, forks that bend when you try to cut into something, couches that are just hard wood with just a little piece of foam on them. So a lot of people are just going to want to go and buy their own stuff. Decide, are you going to get a fully furnished place? And are those furnishings acceptable for you, or aren't they? Are you going to want transportation of your own, or are you just going to budget out and grab taxis or what have you? So these are things that a lot of people kind of forget about. Now, is there a recommended amount for savings for startup costs? A savings versus startup costs, 2 completely different things. So for me, the startup cost, I budgeted out 10,000 US dollars for my startup costs. That included a flight here, that included the hotels, maybe an Airbnb, because you don't just usually walk right into the place that you're going to rent long term. You want to look around, maybe you want to hop around from city to city, explore a little bit before you sign off that 1-year lease. A lot of people want to get here and they want to buy transportation. So if you want a nice scooter or motorbike, you're looking at least 100,000 pesos. That's around 2,000 US dollars. So you have to decide, how am I going to get around? Am I going to buy a car? Am I going to buy a motorbike? Am I going to rent initially? A lot of people rent initially. Or are you just going to call the grab taxis? So for me, 10,000 was kind of a sweet spot, and it did work well. It enabled me to kind of go through and get everything I needed and kind of put me on the right footing. Now, this is a debatable number. People will say, some people will say, I only needed a couple $1,000s to get started. Depends what you want. Some people are going to say I needed 20,000. And well, those would be people maybe who want to buy a car or something like that. I don't know. So it's debatable. Now, as far as how much should you have for an emergency fund savings, I'm just going to say that you need an emergency fund. You need a savings for emergencies, because you just never know what happens. You should never get all the way down to the point where you have not enough money to get back home. I'm not even going to throw out a number as far as an emergency savings, because this is debated. Every time I put up a number on this, everybody is going to be comfortable with a certain number. So I will just state you need an emergency fund, and then up to you on how much you think that should be. Now, are there some hidden costs with startup? Yeah, there are things like maybe appliances. For example, I have a 65-inch TV behind me. I wanted a big TV. Then I had to go out and buy the entertainment center that fit it, because the entertainment center I had did not fit it. By the way, guys, these travel mugs are fantastic. You can see that they fit perfectly in the vehicle. I highly recommend picking yourself up one of these. You can find a link in the description. These are fantastic. I take this thing with me everywhere. I use this all the time. Definitely recommend it. I wanted a big dining room table, for example. You see we have our laptops, kind of our work area. Plus we needed room to be able to eat and everything. So I wanted a big table. I wanted a microwave. Maya wanted a washing machine. Filipinos don't want to wash all your clothes by hand. It's way too much work when there's 3 people in the household. Visa costs. So you got to really kind of account for all these little hidden costs that could pop up. Again, as far as furnishing an apartment, it can be really inexpensive. I mean, for example, this sofa behind me is a reclining sofa. It reclines on both ends. And it's not leather, but it's like kind of, I guess, pleather. But I've had this now for, I think, 3 years. Yeah, at least 3 years. And I think I only spent maybe $500 US or $600 US. Very inexpensive. This kitchen table, I don't know, $380. So furniture can be really inexpensive here. The washing machine, a couple $100. So it's not expensive to furnish a place here. So you really don't have to budget a lot. Now, there's a chain called Mandawi Foam. That's the one I usually recommend people to go to. But there are places all over, so don't worry. You won't have any problem with furnishing a place. There's always an appliance store where you can get your electronics, like your TV, karaoke machine for Filipinos, washing machine, microwave, things like that. No problem in furniture store. So for me, the first month of expenses were the deposits. Often places will require first month or maybe a 2-month deposit plus the first month rent. So you're talking about if you want a 25,000 peso place, 75,000. Now I always tell people to bargain on the deposit and only try to do 1 month deposit if you can. And so at least have a double, first month in deposit. Also the furniture, also internet, electric, all the TV, all these different things that you may want, because you may move in and if the TV is horrible, it's an old TV, it's not even a smart TV, or it's very small and you want something bigger. I don't know about you, but I like my movies, I like my Netflix and chill. I don't want to watch it on a small screen. So for me, the startup cost for moving in was about $2,000. It wasn't that expensive, maybe $3,000 US to move in. Towels, sheets, kitchen appliances, some furniture, depending on whether you have a fully furnished place or unfurnished place. By the way, I also want to mention that it's very easy to offload stuff. For example, if I were ever to move, would I pay the people and everything to move all this furniture? Probably not. I probably would just sell it. There's a really good used marketplace, Facebook marketplace in the Philippines. People are always looking to buy secondhand. It's not like the States or other countries. It's very easy to offload secondhand goods. So never had a problem offloading any kind of thing that was secondhand. Always sold it within a few days, very easily. You got to budget for visas, like I said, paperwork, legal expenses if there are any. But again, if you are going to use a service like, for example, JRC, and you're going to get the retirement visa, you got to see which one you qualify for. You have to see how much the deposit is, how much the fee is for their service, or maybe you're just going to stay on a tourist visa for the first year and really check it out before you go for that long-term tourist visa. You got to account for this. I think the approximate cost is about $500 US per year for tourist visa extensions, your ACR card. That's usually what it comes out to. Health insurance, medical setup for expats. I recommend coming out here initially with travel medical insurance. There is a link in the description. If you decide, okay, this is the place where I want to be, I need health insurance, there's a link for my buddy Michael. He can get you a quote for permanent health insurance here. But if you're just coming out and you're going to give it maybe a 3-month or a 6-month trial, just start off with the travel medical. I definitely recommend it. Everything from motorbikes, and dengue fever and food sickness. Just it's worth having. Trust me. Getting connected to the phone, Wi-Fi, utilities. Most of the time, if you, like, for example, move into a condo, a lot of these things are already in the landlord's name, ready to go, and you're just paying the bill. That's usually how it works, and that works best because then nothing is in your name. If at all possible, try to keep everything like in your landlord's name. For example, this place, if I move out, the electric, the internet, the water, none of that is in my name whatsoever. It's all through the landlord. I don't have to worry about disconnecting or setting up new service. It's already done and good to go. And that's the easiest way to do it. If you go to a place and the landlord wants you to get everything in your name, utilities, internet, water, I might reconsider that place and give it a hard pass, to be honest. Try not to have anything in your name. It makes life so much simpler. Now, of course, if you buy a house at some point, buy a condo, then you would want things in your name. Of course, that just makes sense. But otherwise, try not to have it in your name. So my own startup costs, again, I'll go back to the beginning where I started. I had $10,000 US for startup costs. And again, that covered my plane ticket here. I stayed in a hotel, I think, for 5 nights. And then I found the area that I liked in Cebu, and I decided on IT Park. And the place wanted a 1-month deposit and the first month rent, so that was 50,000 pesos. I needed to go to the store and get all kinds of stuff. I had to get towels, sheets, a shower curtain. Believe it or not, it was fully furnished, but no shower curtain. And it really had very few dishes. It didn't have things like a microwave or a slow cooker, a lot of things that I wanted. I wanted a couple of rugs. I wanted a few nice pillows. And all this stuff does add up. So I think by the time I had moved in, I probably spent around $3,000 to $4,000. That's with plane ticket, move in. That's like my first month. And after that, I ended up buying a motorbike, a Honda Click, paid it in cash. And other than that, that was really about it. And then, of course, I had my Visa cost, which was just kind of every other month. So it didn't, I would say $5,000 was fine for me to get going. And again, though, my personal recommendation is $10,000 for startup costs. That is not an emergency fund. That is startup costs. Emergency fund, I won't even get into that number because always arguments over this, and so I'm not even going to get into it. You just have an emergency fund. That's the important thing. Have a number that makes you feel comfortable. So there you have it, guys. Definitely something to consider. Startup costs. Don't forget about that because, you may work it out and say, okay, I've got plenty to live on month to month, but do not forget about your startup costs and have money just in case you were to have to leave the Philippines and get yourself reestablished back in your home country. That is going to be expensive. I thought about it one day and I said to myself, you know what? To get myself reestablished in the US, get a car and all of this, I'm probably looking at $20,000 US. So anyway, thank you guys for watching and I'll see everyone next time.